Imagine being completely alone in a world of darkness, relying only on your instincts and the loyal friend by your side. This was Clara's life, a blind woman who, despite her struggles, found comfort in the unconditional love of her guide dog Max. But that night, everything changed. Max began to growl softly, something he never did without reason. Clara felt a chill run down her spine. "Max, what is it?" she asked, her voice trembling. Outside, a muffled noise. Footsteps. Someone was there. Clara rose slowly, feeling along the wall for support, while Max stood frozen, staring at the front door. The silence was so heavy it seemed to scream. Then, the doorbell rang. Once, twice, 3 times. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. "Who is it?" she asked, but the only response was the sound of something scraping the lock. Max started barking frantically. Clara, confused and terrified, reached for her phone to call the police, only to find there was no signal. She heard the sound of wood creaking. The door was being forced open. "Please go away," she screamed, but the answer was a low, sinister laugh. Clara retreated to the kitchen, trying to think quickly. She opened a drawer, searching for something to defend herself, but her trembling hands found only a letter opener. "You think you can hide from me?" the cold voice echoed through the house. Max growled non-stop, but something in him seemed different. He was hesitant, almost as if he knew he couldn't face what was coming. Suddenly, a loud crash of breaking glass. Clara screamed, clutching Max tightly. "Please don't do this," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. But the intruder didn't respond. Instead, heavy footsteps began to echo down the hallway. Clara felt along the wall until she found the back door. With Max at her side, she tried to unlock it, but it seemed jammed. The sound of footsteps grew closer and closer. "Max, help me," she whispered, knowing he could only do so much. Suddenly, the sound stopped. The silence was deafening. Clara held her breath, straining to hear any sign. And then a whisper far too close. "You really thought you could escape him?" Clara froze. The voice was on the other side of the door. She collapsed to her knees, clutching Max as if he were her last connection to the world. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered to herself, "Please, someone help me." But no one was there. The intruder began pounding on the door with force, and Clara felt panic consume her. She knew that if the door gave way, there would be nothing left she could do. Max started barking desperately, but even he seemed to sense time was running out. Clara, on her knees, felt Max trembling under her hands. The sound of the intruder's footsteps grew louder, echoing in the room like a clock counting down to something terrible. "Why is he here? How did he find me?" Clara thought, her mind racing for answers. The intruder's scent, a mix of cigarettes and alcohol, grew closer and closer. Max let out a loud bark but then began whimpering, as if torn between protecting Clara and something holding him back. The man crouched near her, and Clara felt the heat of his breath. He whispered, his voice dripping with cruelty. "You shouldn't have run, Clara. I told you no one would help you. Not even him." Clara tried to move back, but hit the sofa. Her fingers gripped Max's fur tightly, searching for any kind of comfort. "Please, please leave," she begged, trying to keep her voice steady, but the tears betrayed her determination. "Leave." He laughed, a bitter sound that seemed to pierce the darkness. "You think I'll just let this go? After everything you've done?" Suddenly, he pulled something from his pocket, a metallic object that clinked as it hit the table. Clara couldn't see what it was, but the sound made her heart race. Max began growling again, this time louder, as if battling an internal conflict. "Do you know what this is, Clara?" the man asked, tapping the object on the table again. "It's the end of your game. And you know what's worse? I don't even have to rush. You're trapped here with me. No one else. Just the 3 of us." Clara swallowed hard. "You're wrong. Someone will come. Someone will help me." The man leaned in closer. "Oh, Clara, no one's coming. No one heard you scream before. No one will hear now." Max suddenly shifted, as if preparing to attack, but something held him back. The man noticed and laughed again. "Even your dog knows who's in charge here." Time seemed to freeze. Clara, her breath shallow, whispered almost powerlessly, "Max, please, help me." Clara took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, as she felt the intruder's heat suffocatingly close. Max, motionless by her side, seemed locked in an internal battle between fear and courage. The man, now more threatening, leaned in closer, whispering, "If even he won't protect you, who will?" At that moment, something shifted. Clara, gripped by fear, lifted her head, her expression marked by pain and determination. "You think I'm weak because I can't see you?" Before he could answer, Max, as if awakened by those words, lunged with a ferocity Clara had never felt before. His bark echoed through the house, followed by the sound of a body hitting the floor. The man screamed, trying to fend off the dog, but Max was relentless. He fought with everything he had, protecting Clara as if he knew this was the moment to change everything. Clara, unable to see, desperately felt along the floor until she found what the man had dropped, a car key. She gripped it tightly and shouted, "Max, come." With a final growl, Max retreated to Clara's side as the man, injured, struggled to stand. Clara, clutching Max's leash, began moving toward the door. "You won't get away," he yelled, his voice filled with rage. But Clara had already found her way out, guided by Max, who seemed to know exactly what to do. They ran through the dark hallway, each step echoing like a countdown. They reached the front door, and Clara unlocked it with the key she had found. Outside, the fresh night air hit her face, but the danger was still behind her. The man burst through the door, but before he could reach them, the sound of sirens filled the air. Red and blue lights cut through the darkness, illuminating the terrified look on the intruder's face. "You're not escaping this time," Clara said firmly as the police surrounded him. Max barked loudly, as if celebrating the victory. Clara, tears streaming down her face, knelt down and hugged the dog tightly. "You saved me, Max. You're my hero." As the man was taken away by the police, Clara finally felt a huge weight lift from her shoulders. She was no longer alone. Max was by her side, and together, they had won. Clara took a deep breath, trying to stay calm as she felt the intruder's oppressive heat so close it seemed to suffocate her. Max, motionless at her side, appeared to be fighting an internal battle between fear and courage. The man, now with a more menacing tone, leaned in even closer, whispering, "If even he won't protect you, who will?" That's when something shifted. Clara, previously paralyzed by fear, raised her head, her expression marked by pain and determination. "You think I'm weak because I can't see you?" Before he could reply, Max, as if awakened by her words, lunged forward with a ferocity Clara had never felt before. His bark echoed through the house, followed by the thud of a body hitting the floor. The man screamed, trying to push the dog away, but Max was relentless. He fought with everything he had, protecting Clara as if he understood this was the moment to turn the tide. Clara, unable to see, frantically felt around the floor until her fingers touched something the man had dropped, a car key. She gripped it tightly and shouted, "Max, come." With a final growl, Max retreated and returned to Clara's side as the injured man struggled to get up. Holding Max's leash, Clara began moving toward the door. "You're not getting away," the man shouted, his voice dripping with rage. But Clara had already found her way out, guided by Max, who seemed to know exactly what to do. They ran through the dark hallway, each step echoing like a countdown. They reached the front door, and Clara unlocked it with the key she'd found. Outside, the cool night air enveloped her face, but the danger was still close behind. The man bolted through the door after them, but before he could reach them, the sound of sirens filled the air. Red and blue lights pierced the darkness, illuminating the terror on his face. "You're not escaping this time," Clara said firmly as the police surrounded him. Max barked loudly, as if celebrating their victory. Clara, tears streaming down her face, knelt down and embraced her dog. "You saved me, Max. You're my hero." As the man was taken away by the police, Clara finally felt an enormous weight lift from her shoulders. She was no longer alone. Max was by her side, and together, they had won.